Hello, my name is Eddie Allen, and with me today is James Hawtry. James is an artist. He has a display on the walls of the Senior Center here in Iowa City, Johnson County, and that is currently being shown. And James, I understand you've been an art teacher in the Iowa City area for a number of years. Where did you teach?
We should have rehearsed. I taught elementary art, and we traveled, and then we were assigned schools, and then somebody was needed at the junior high, and they went to the two full-time teachers, and he said, "Would you like to go to the junior high?" And the first person said, "No." And somebody else, naming me, said, "Maybe." And then somebody came along during the summer and she says, "I hear you're going to the junior high." I had no official moment until after that moment. And so I want to list some of the elementaries because it's kind of fun.
Okay.
I came in '67, and I had 6 schools to go to in a week, and I taught 45 minutes in one classroom, and then I'd go on to the next classroom. So it was Mark Twain, Longfellow, Cornwall Central. I'm having trouble.
Roosevelt was Roosevelt.
Lucas, and, well, at any rate, la.
You taught art classes, excuse me, art classes for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And what age range of children were you teaching in those elementary schools?
That's a
all
good
grades?
question. When I was traveling from school to school, I was only in 3rd and 4th grade. And then one year I was in 5th and 6th grade. And then when I was assigned to school, I taught K through 6th grade.
Okay.
And I had a much harder job because you had to have a lesson plan for little people and 3rd graders and 5th graders, and I enjoyed that. Despite the fact that I was traveling, all the desks had their names on it, so you knew the child's
That's
name.
helpful, isn't it?
It's very helpful.
Yes.
So when you go to the junior high, the only reason that there are names is because you make a seating chart.
Sure.
And so I'd have 12 weeks with the students near the end of my career, and it's like, I have to learn a whole new set of kids every 12 weeks. So I turned it around and let them learn everybody's name.
Good.
And so we had a test early in the semester, all about names. But I thought that made everybody more friendly, and they knew that they knew that child, and that child knew them. I did that because one of my students said, "So-and-so, I don't know his name, is really bugging me." And so he didn't know it, but he created the test.
Do you teach art classes today?
No,
Not today.
no.
Would you teach art classes today?
Well, I've thought about that, and I think that if they had caught me soon after I retired, that would have been a better chance.
A better time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, right now life has changed. I'm not as young as I was, and I have other things I must do.
You know, James, that's a common melody for all of us.
Getting
We're not
old.
as young as we were.
Yeah. No,
Okay, so now, as you prepared for this art display here at the center, you have a number of very interesting and intricate pieces of art, each seemingly similar but different. Obviously, they're different, or they wouldn't be displayed the way they are. Where do you get your inspiration and your ideas for these kinds of pieces of work?
Well, I seem to have a fascination with carousels. and people in general. And then the church, Trinity Episcopal Church, asked me to draw bulletin covers. And initially I thought, I'm not going to do that. But this was before the end of the teaching career, and it turned out to be quite a challenge. It was like, I get to tell the Bible my way.
Good.
So the end of the hall upstairs is a whole series of biblical stories. One is the Lord is my shepherd. I don't think that's the title, but it is the shepherd. And then the one where they're on the road, the apostles are on the road to Emmaus, and Christ joins them, and then he kind of appears to them, and they figure it out. So there's a drawing like that.
Good.
And in heaven,
Sure.
just in case you need to know what it's going to look like.
Well, so you have, we have the opportunity to visualize heaven through your work. Now,
In that particular
painting.
series, yeah.
Are you a person who, let's just start with this particular piece of artwork that you have. It's appears to be in pastel, and we have towers on airplanes, and I'm not quite sure what's at the top, but it looks like maybe a vase at the top of the tower.
Yeah. Well, it's plants growing out of this particular castle/tower.
Okay.
And then these are just towers of stone and brick.
Okay.
Last year my grandchildren were playing football and basketball and volleyball, and I needed something to carry to the games, and so I carried my sketchbook, and if I have a few minutes to concentrate on something other than the ball going up down the court, I draw.
And do you draw people, or are you drawing these images that are in your head? Are you choosing people?
I haven't been drawing volleyball players or football players.
Okay.
But yesterday, because Iowa was playing, I decided, well, it's about time to consider football as a subject, so
Right.
I tried it.
Good.
I have not finished it. It's just
Well, you got to start
beginning.
somewhere, right?
That's right. It's a beginning. It's a seed.
I think it's interesting that one of your airplanes here has the markings of the United States Air Force, and it has USA on one wing and the sort of the logo, I guess, on the other, and it's a 52 is the number of it. Now, when I was a child, and as I matured, B-52 bombers were quite the spectacle of the United States Air Force, and quite a fortress of weaponry. Did you have that in mind when you captured that particular plane?
Well, I'd like to say you were absolutely correct, and you guessed it right, nailed it. I drew a book up on a toy train, and I had to pick a number for the train engine, and it was 52.
Okay.
And there was a good reason for that. And I'm delaying answering your question because 52 is a great number, and 52B Fortress, the fortress, would be a great number, especially if it were on a plane, but this is a biplane.
Yes.
So there might be another reason. If you alphabetize the counties of Iowa, 1, 2, 3, 4, you know which one's 52?
Let's guess Johnson.
Perfect. And I thought, wow, that's why it has to be 52. And then I got the book done, and I really wanted the people. It's a present. It's a Christmas present type thing. So how could I? What would be the logic of 52 then? Gonna play with your trains every week of the year? 52 weeks. So I thought, perfect. Double whammy.
All right, now here we have a drain of some type, and in one side it looks to be fed by either the sky or water, and the other side is coming from a garden. Am I close?
Sure. No, Margie has had several health episodes, and we were at St. Luke's, Cedar Rapids, recovering.
Okay.
And your spirit is kind of draining away. And so the one without plants is that, oh my God. But the water looks like Walt Disney when you look at that one.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like faces and more faces. And that bothered me. I mean, I wanted the faces, but I don't want them to look so Disney-like. So I started over, and this is the second drawing, even though the first drawing, this one, looked like that more.
Okay.
And so the plants represent hope, and the lack of the plants it's scary.
It's scary.
No.
It is scary.
Yeah.
And would you say that these sort of represent us as we grow older?
Well, I think the attitudes and spirits within in your heart and in soul, it's I didn't expect that. I just thought getting older and
Sure.
slow down a little bit.
Now here looks like we're at a stadium somewhere.
Yeah, this
Or a court.
is trying to figure out how we all fit together. I had an episode in my life where I thought people were not being fair to me, maybe, and so these are people with issues. They're kind of friendly issues. First time I drew this drawing, which is not present, it was much more anger. So since it looked like a stadium, then I drew this one, which looks like a stadium and plays with people watching the game.
Right.
And it's also supposedly a puzzle, but this one I think you can see the puzzle parts. There's a hand putting the puzzle part into the puzzle.
I see, yes.
And I like that idea. As a basic idea, I would try to find other ways to reproduce that.
Okay. Now these are pretty small. Once
These,
again,
the real drawing is as close to this as I could print it on a piece of paper. It's 9 by 12.
okay,
And this is the first one, so it's first, second, third. And this is what I really was seeing. I was in the hospital and I had morphine. Makes you feel good.
I
was
understand that's
waking up, and I was looking at the curtain, and I could swear those were witches. And because they were witches, then I came home from the hospital, and I drew my first attempt at the idea. This down here is, the alarm was going off. It doesn't show on that one very well. We'll go to the next one. That doesn't show it either. This is more like it. This is the remote, and I was recovering, and I was thinking, okay, now if my roommate would just turn off his light, I could go to sleep. But I think I probably was not conscious anyway. And I was turning off the TV and couldn't turn it off. The nurse and the doctor, whoever was attending me, was on the chalkboard, and it didn't change. But it was morphine talking. So this is the remote. These are me attempting to turn it off. Still not quite what I wanted to do, so I took the original idea, sketched it to make the witches, and that's the original idea. These are the new witches. Then I drew them, and they were supposed to be black, but I thought black would not be friendly, so I gave them some skin. And then this is all that pressure of the alarm going off. This is an oxygen issue, so 92, which is good, but it was dropping down to 43. And I tell the nurses I'm not dying.
So James, most of the artwork that we're looking at this morning is sort of items from your mind, let's call it that. But here you've shown me items of reality, your home that you actually live in, and let's talk about the colors, and let's talk about how did this one derive from your mind?
Well, basically I started with the house.
With the house.
And I laid out all the basic shapes that I was going to use.
Okay.
And some of it's the truth and some of it's not. The attic has things stored in it.
Of course.
Not necessarily these things, but things that would be interesting. And the basement is pretty much like the basement. Washer, dryer, train layout. And the middle floor is where we lived,
Sure.
worked, made food. I don't think we're dining. I don't think so. The dining room, half the house, dining room is on the south side and the kitchen's on the north.
And
And
then
this
we
is-
show sort of the interior of the house here.
They both do.
Oh, okay. I got you. Yes.
Then this is the stairwell, and in the original house, which was a 4 square, meaning 4 rooms, and you'd have a living room, dining room, kitchen on the first floor, and then the second floor would be 3 bedrooms and a bathroom,
Right.
which is why it's called a 4 square, just in case you don't know.
And we added on to that home.
And then the addition is from the bathroom back, so it shows, let's see, I think there's the stairwell, and then the bathroom, and then a bit of the back.
Okay.
It would have been a bigger piece of paper.
Okay. What's next on your agenda there? Oh, these are
These go into the fantasy of life.
Right.
My wife will say, "Look at that," and you're saying, "Well, of course." But it's usually a bird or a squirrel. Really important stuff to look at. So this is a little bit of a tease. So they're all birds and a person looking at birds.
Okay.
So it's called Birds in the Yard.
Okay,
And
good.
if it looks a little like a churchyard, it's because I used to live right beside the Episcopal Church in Oskaloosa. Then this is, my children want us to move. Now, do you really want to move after only 48 years in your house? I don't think so. And what are you going to do with the collection? You're going to sell it all? At any rate, this is, all of these are people walking around in the house with their heads cut off on hangers. And the collections are there and the upstairs is there. So it's the stairwell, but with this issue of
What to do next?
being headless.
Right.
So in my basement, I have what I used to call the toy mine. And children, I fantasize my grandchildren to go down there and mine out some toys, play with them. They don't live in town. At any rate, they did a little bit, but it's not close to what your fantasy is. We removed the furnace after all those years, and the furnace became parts of new drawings. And so you've lost your you've lost the original function of the furnace becomes something new. So this is the first drawing of it becoming something new. I taught Cubism to my children in school, so this is a Cubist impression of what a visit to my basement would be like. And then this evolves a little bit more, and he becomes a jazz player slash stuff that's in the basement coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And then the big painting downstairs, it's very old. Painted it in my first year of teaching. And it's 50 by 38, or 36, I don't remember exactly. But it gave me the idea that with the furnace gone, I would see fewer pipes. Don't expect fewer pipes just because you had a dead octopus in your basement. So this is the watercolor. This is the original. That's the basement, and just a photograph of it. But I pulled the pipes out of the original painting and kind of combined the two ideas.
Now, how long was it when the furnace became replaceable, let's call it?
Day one.
From the very beginning?
Well, I mean, it took up space. I collect toy trains.
Sure.
It was in the way of my
and the
toy
furnace
train.
was in the way of all of
was,
that.
but-
So you got to.
But I was patient for 46 years or so.
So for 46 years you had this furnace taking up space,
Right.
and then
We finally could afford buying a new furnace.
and when you went to that process,
Yeah.
I watched this old house all the time,
Right.
and see how new modern technology reduces the need for these large furnaces, boilers, goes on in some houses.
Yeah.
How much space did you gain?
Well, what it was filling up made a nice, comfortable area for the train layout. Trouble is, I was concerned about dust, shoes, workers putting in pipes and things like that, so I tore it all out. Not the board, but all the tracks, and
Right. And
I haven't had the energy to put it back.
So the train layout is in progress.
Probably not.
Okay.
I love my trains, but it's like, if I spend all my time doing things around trains, I'm not making art.
It's
a much higher priority to me.
The artwork is more interesting and a higher priority for you.
Well, I feel like I'm more fulfilled by making the art than I am by spending money on toys and collecting trains.
And one of the things that I would suggest is that by doing your art and sharing it with us here at the center, it's a way to it's sort of a plaything in a way, because your drawings are quite they're vibrant, they have beautiful colors in them, and they're very fanciful, and you talked about the morphine taking over while you were recovering.
Right.
I don't think all of them look like that to me, but there are some really fanciful ideas that are presented.
Right.
Your carousel, for example, that's right outside the door of this room, is very interesting. Lots of color, and how would you? Is that from the carousel at the mall in Coralville?
It is. It's simplified. I mean, it's like
Sure.
you go into a real situation. You say, I could paint everything here, but then why not just take a picture?
Right.
So I tend to if I can, sit and get it started, and then since I'm missing some information, go back and get more information. This is more taking out the toys from the basement. And
From the toy mine.
Yeah, turning them into something new. And so there's this hero in the middle who is half tractor and half tricycle and half needing hearing aids. And then the rest become musicians, like people playing some kind of musical instrument, oftentimes some form of a guitar. And I designed this again so it could be right side up and upside down. But I haven't stringed it so I can go down into the exhibit and just flip it. The ones that I did. These are bigger. And again, the hero is based on that tractor trailer xylophone. And he evolves till he turns into Xylophone Man, who is the hero. And he's playing the tractor treads kind of inspired the xylophone effect.
Now this might be an installation that the University of Iowa percussion
Sure.
people would want to install over.
That's right.
in
They got a
Oxford.
great big building.
Yes, they do.
I was in the Legacy assisted living area, and there's long, long halls with art on it.
Yes.
It looks like art. But to me, art is not just knowing the trick, so to speak, but it's also the spirit from within onto the canvas. This is trying to remove, organize, like you're coming to breakfast. We know you're coming to breakfast. You're going to sit down and bring our sun to the day, sunny side up.
All right.
Another one with a little brighter colors.
Yes.
And then I was on a trip. One of the things I like to do about my art is carrying a sketchbook that is small enough that you can just put it in your lap and draw wherever you are, even on an airplane. And so this drawing is from Cedar Rapids to York, Pennsylvania.
And why do you feel the need to create a hero?
Well, I always was comforted by my toys. I turned 12, as we all do, if we live to be 12, and I wasn't going to, probably wouldn't be a football player, even though I should be a football player, because everybody else is.
Sure.
I was afraid I'd break a tooth. So I never went out for football. I still have that tooth.
That's a good enough reason for me.
Yeah. So this is, again, back to the same kind of characters. And then instead of just having the hero, the golden musician to his band, and the basement turned into the garage. My garage is a studio as well as other parts of my house. And then we get to the carousels.
Wonderful. You said something that I think is very interesting. When you don't know what to draw, you start with a line and then expand on it.
Yeah, you make a mark and you tell yourself a story that makes some kind of sense. And it might be just shapes and it might be just colors, but I tend to make it look like something.
My name is Eddie Allen, and we're a member of the membership committee of the Senior Center, and you are James Hawtry, an artist. And you have on display here at the center quite a variety of artwork, which has conceptual artwork primarily blossoming from your brain onto the paper with your skills, and I have to say they're quite delightful, and we're happy to have you shown here at the Senior Center, and thank you very much for being here this morning.
Thank you.